the top story of the day. House prosecutors have rested their case against former President Trump. Within the past hour, they finished arguing that he should be impeached for inciting an insurrection, should be convicted of this. It ended with the warning that former President Trump can do it again if he is not convicted.
And here to talk more about day three is North Central College political science professor Stephen Caliendo. Professor Caliendo, thank you as always for being with us.
Good to see you.
So Democratic impeachment managers focus their case on the threat to the country right now, but also a future threat. What were your takeaways from day three here?
Yeah, I mean, it was another day, a second day of powerful testimony. Remember, the first day was mostly legal arguments, and they laid out their case. They didn't use all the time they had. They had 16 hours. They didn't quite use that. They certainly made the point at the end, not only did this happen, but it could happen again if we don't do something, and we have some responsibility. And that's where they left their side of the case.
There were also a lot of focus about how trying to draw a straight line, it seemed, from Trump's words to the actions of the rioters. Explain why that's important to their case.
You bet. I mean, they're trying to show that these riots would not have happened but for the actions, the words of President Trump. And I think what we'll start to see tomorrow a little bit is the Trump legal team saying, you know, you can't make that connection. Certainly he said things, and certainly the January 6th happened, but it's not a clear line between what he said and what happened on that day. It's going to be very interesting the way they try to make that argument.
Now, this is a totally 2020 case. There's a lot of video. There are tweets that are being displayed. Very different from Trump's first impeachment trial. Your thoughts on how effective this was and how much pressure, if any, there may be now on Republicans to vote against or rule against the former president?
Right. I mean, it was a lot different, and it was different mostly because of the circumstances. First of all, much of what happened was televised, and there's video, and much of the evidence were public statements. The president's public statements, the president's tweets. Where in the previous impeachment, it was a private telephone call that we just had a readout. So during the impeachment phase, in the House phase, they had to call a bunch of witnesses to contextualize that, tell us what happened. Most of what we saw over the last 2 days, we already knew. We hadn't seen it all together, but it was all in the public. Whether or not there's pressure for the Republican senators in particular, it remains to be seen, because it depends on how they perceive their political futures. If they don't think they can win re-election and maintain their presence as a Republican Party without Donald Trump and Donald Trump's core supporters, they're not going to be likely to vote to convict him. If they think the Republican Party needs to move on from Donald Trump, you will see that. And so I expect that there will be some senators that will depart from the former president, but indications at this point are it won't be many.
Yeah, probably not the 17 the Democrats need to actually get the conviction. Professor Caliendo, always great to see you. Thank you.
Good to see you both.
Thanks.
Next,